All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the show today where we are going to talk about OCD and anxiety recovery. Specifically, we're going to talk about setbacks and relapses. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Codde, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. And before we dive into the show, obviously, we have a new office and a whole new background. For those of you that have been with us for a while. So excited about that and just want to express my gratitude for that. Uh, and before we dive in, if you are someone who's been with us for a while, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing, as well as leaving a comment and review on iTunes or Spotify, as it just helps the show algorithm. Now, we also have some resources in the links below where you can get access to my new book, as well as some workshops and some other things. And you can obviously check out restoredminds.com if you're looking for support. So let's dive into the topic of the day. And I'd say this is probably one of, the most frequent questions that I get, in the sense of, I am things might be going well, and then someone has a setback, they have a relapse, or at least that's what they're saying in the question, and then they're kind of panicking because of that, right? So, and then this also can tie into like fearing relapse and setbacks. So I want to just kind of talk about this subject on a whole, because I think with some of the stuff that I'm going to share today, I think it might be really helpful to frame it certain ways for yourself, to really make sure that that you don't allow yourself to spiral. So first off, let's talk about setbacks and relapses. So a setback is just, again, a regression in your progress, right? Meaning you start doing some kind of safety behaviors, because again, the only way that we're ever measuring our success is the safety behaviors that we're engaging in, or compulsions. Now, a relapse is a full regression back to where you were prior to ever learning anything and ever implementing any kind of intervention. Transparently, relapses are, I'm not going to say they never happen, but I don't know of a case where, I've never worked a case where someone had a full blown relapse where essentially they just forgot anything they've ever learned, and just like, regress to that point. A setback, on the other hand, happens to everyone. They're part of the journey. They're part of this experience. And because we're so used to doing these, safety behaviors, and so used to getting caught in the mind, ruminating, analyzing, getting caught up in the feelings, that setbacks are just a natural part of the process, and they're actually part of the refinement process. So, I don't know someone who has gone through this journey that hasn't had setbacks. So first and foremost, let's normalize setbacks. And really what this episode is going to be about is setbacks as opposed to relapses. But even though the information is essentially going to be exactly the same, this is the more common experience: is someone is making progress, making strides, and then they have a regression where they start either having a flare up of symptoms, or they start noticing old intrusive thoughts pop up, anxious feelings pop up in certain situations. And then what generally happens is the person gets panicky and reactive to the fact that that's happening, and then starts engaging in a bunch of safety behaviors. Now, so when we're talking about how to understand setbacks and relapses, what we're not doing is we aren't looking at the symptoms. This is the number one thing that most people get caught up on, is they're looking to try to get rid of the unwanted thoughts and the anxious feelings or the unwanted feelings. That's never part of what we're doing, right? What we're doing is we're removing all the behaviors that are keeping this loop going, because we understand this as a loop problem. If you want more clarity on that, again, check out the book. It's like $5-6, and it will break that down very, very clearly for you. So we have both the audio version and the PDF version as well, so you can really just get instant access. So when we understand that this is a loop problem and we're removing the behavior so the loop can't spin, then anytime you're having a setback, the number one thing you need to anchor into is not what the experience you're having of intrusive thoughts or anxious feelings. You need to understand, like, what behaviors am I doing? Yeah, that's it. So when you see, if you're having a setback and you're panicking about having a setback or you're worried about having a setback, the only thing you need to be asking yourself is, what behaviors am I engaging in mentally and physically, right? Because you almost need to frame it for yourself as, I'm having a compulsion or a safety behavior setback. Because if you're feeling yourself spin in this wheel, you must be doing behaviors. It has to be. It's math, right? This is, like I always say, this is not magic, it's math, right? If you have a thought and you have a feeling and you're doing safety behaviors, that wheel's going to spin. Okay. When we subtract the safety behaviors, that wheel can't spin. And it's like, we have to really look at it at like a very just black and white situation, right? Like this isn't a, it's not a get, like if that wheel is spinning, you are doing some kind of behavior. So instead of, I need to get rid of these thoughts and I need to get rid of these feelings, your attention and energy needs to be shifted to, okay, I need to make sure I'm doing no behaviors. Now, obviously, that's why we use the AAA response with restored minds, because we really want to make sure we're doing, not doing any mental or physical behaviors. And that's where most people get caught, is they end up engaging in mental behaviors. But when you really understand that setbacks are actually a compulsion setback, not a symptom setback, then what we start to do is work at the problem correctly again. Right. And again, it's kind of the same principle. And this is what I say to a lot of people is like, hey, what gets you better keeps you better. Right. So if you were able to make progress, then there's no reason you can't get there again. You know what I mean? If you've gotten to a point where you're feeling, very balanced, like in quote unquote, in recovery, if you were in that place, there's no reason you can't get there again, no matter how intense the symptoms are right now. It's just, we got to do what got you there the first time. So in many ways, this is a big old mountain climb, right? And you're climbing up the mountain and it's like you take 3 steps and you slip back, and that's okay. And then it doesn't mean that you fall all the way to the bottom. You just slip back a little bit and then you kind of reset, get to where you were, and then keep going. This is part of the process. It's an inevitable part of the process. I've never worked with someone or met someone or experienced on my own accord, a way where someone just learns the skills once and just never ever has any kind of setbacks or anything like that, because the setbacks are really showing you where maybe you're a little more sensitive to certain triggers, maybe doing some compulsions that you're not aware of. And so all these setbacks are great learnings. They're just great refinement periods. And that's really all they are. Now, if you start, again, engaging in compulsions and safety behaviors and start spinning, well, yeah, like that setback can last a while if you're engaging in the behaviors, right? Or, again, conversely, if you say, hey, look, I'm having so the number one thing you should do with in a period of a setback is always frame it correctly. I'm having a safety behavior setback right now. I'm having a compulsion setback right now. Identify it like that. Because if you're sitting there saying, oh, I'm having a setback because I'm having intrusive thoughts, I'm having a setback because I'm having anxiety, I'm having a setback because my sleep's not, as how I'd want it to be right now, right? Or I woke up in the middle of the night with a panic attack. You're identifying the symptom as the problem, where the problem is the loop, right? The problem is this wheel that spins, and it needs all 4 components, right? So it's like you have the intrusive, you have the thoughts, you have the feelings, you have the behaviors, and you have the relief. If those 4 components exist, that wheel is going to form. So if you're having an experience where you're having an onset of thought and an onset of feeling, the only thing that you ever need to do is anchor in and say, okay, am I engaging in any behaviors? Because those experiences are normal. In times of high stress, you're going to have more probably racing thoughts because you're going to feel uncertain, right? And with uncertainty, generally the mind's going to mirror that. So there's going to be a lot more thoughts that pop up. Feeling uncertain and feeling anxiety and feeling fear is part of being human. There may be some humans out there that literally have transcended, emotions to the point where they don't experience fear anymore. I'm not one of them. Okay. Like that's a normal thing. And I don't even know that I would want to be that. Right. Because again, when you understand that what our goal is to actually feel feelings as they happen and not try to always feel, quote unquote, joy and happy and only the positive feelings that we want to feel, but being able to feel the whole spectrum of emotion that we experience as humans, that is self-mastery. Self-mastery is not, I only live in bliss and joy. Now, paradoxically, if you get really good at feeling the uncomfortable feelings, what tends to happen is they tend not to be so sticky and you don't get stuck in them. So you're able to go through them quickly and move into the higher level feelings. That's what the whole principle of the book Letting Go is, and a lot of what people like Michael Singer teach and stuff like that is like, we have to get good at feeling everything, right? And the safer we feel feeling the uncomfortable emotions, the less reactive we are to them. So I think one of the big problems with setbacks, in my experience, is that people get so reactive to the fact that the symptoms showed back up because they were in a place where they weren't having a lot of, let's say, intrusive thoughts or anxious feelings. So they're still misassessing the problem as a thought and feeling issue, so that when the thoughts and feelings show back up, they label that as bad and then try to get rid of them and start doing compulsions and safety behaviors. So again, if you're having a setback, make sure to label it correctly. I must be having a compulsion setback, right? Therefore, then moving your attention and energy to identifying what safety behaviors you're doing, what compulsions you're doing, and really working at eliminating those, right? And if you're not using AAA response, whatever you are using, make sure to really implement that. Now, again, like one of the reasons I'm so, obviously biased, is the correct word, but why I'm such I am such, a advocate for the AAA response is because when we're doing something that we know is indirectly eliminating all the behaviors, we can really anchor into that one thing. Right. And it just makes the process easier for the mind, as opposed to trying to figure out everything we're doing that could be unhealthy. So to summarize this episode here, really what we want to do is we want to, again, remember that if setbacks are part of the process, relapses are very rare, because it just doesn't happen. Right. That I've seen, really. I mean, I'm sure it has happened and all of that, but I mean, really, setbacks are usually what we're talking about. And a setback is usually a flare up of symptoms, and then the person starts engaging in compulsion. So what we want to really acknowledge is, hey, I'm having a compulsion setback. I'm having a safety behavior setback. That's what's happening. Therefore, we need to start working at it from that angle. Because if I'm having anxiety again, I'm having intrusive thoughts again, and we're starting to try to get rid of that, that's going to lead us to doing compulsions, which is going to keep us stuck in the loop. Okay. So really framing it correctly for yourself is so important, to really make sure that when these things happen, and they inevitably will, you're not getting stuck in perpetuating that loop for a long period of time. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope it kind of contextualize setbacks well for you, so that you understand kind of what's going on, and more importantly, what you need to be doing if you find yourself in one. And with that, if you're looking for support and guidance and resources on this journey, I really, obviously don't encourage you to do it alone. So we have some links down in the resources. You can also reach out at Restored Minds as well. You can complete an application for, either our TBC program or our coaching, because, just really getting that clear guidance and implementing the correct tools is just going to really help expedite your recovery process. So thanks so much for hanging out, and I wish you guys a great week as always. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Hey there, hope you enjoyed that recent video. We really would appreciate your support real quick if you could like and subscribe to our channel. And if you're looking for help with OCD and anxiety, please check out the links below or visit restoredminds.com, as we'd be happy to help you on your journey. Thanks so much.